All right, welcome to the situation update from Monday, December 27th, 2021. We made it through Christmas, all of us, somehow. Can't believe it. I'm very thankful that we made it through Christmas, and I want to let you know I'm doing just fine here. Hope you're doing fine there. I kind of missed talking with you here over the last few days, but I did enjoy the time off. I've got a lot of news for you today and a couple of videos and some comments about the new Matrix movie. And I've got a top 10 list I'm going to go through maybe in this podcast or maybe separately. I'm not sure. But anyway, there's a lot actually going on. And I got a lot of positive feedback about my vinyl record idea where I'm going to do some kind of recording of the year 2021 in memory of the insane year that we all lived through. Try to put that down into some audio, just some of the highlights, some of the observations, and so on, and put that on a LP, vinyl LP. And so I did a little research on that. It turns out you can fit a maximum of 22 minutes per side of a 12-inch LP. So a two-sided record is 44 minutes, and that's the max. Even then, the fidelity is not that great, but it's okay for voice. So the problem is that there's a 16-week wait time for this, for pressing vinyl. That's 4 months, folks. So if I start recording this week and ship it out, we're talking, end of April, early May before we get this thing out the door. So no wonder the world moved more slowly in the 1970s and 80s when, it was cassette tapes and records. It's like it took so long to get anything pressed, Today, I record this audio right now and then you get it within hours, or I guess with live streaming instantly. But back then it was months. So nevertheless, I'm still going to pursue this idea. I think it's going to be great to have some vinyl on the wall, just hanging on the wall. And then when your kids or grandkids come in, it's like, what is that, Grandma? You say, play it. play. What do you mean, Grandma? Play it. What do you mean, play it? What are you talking about? Play it with a record player. What? And then you can teach your grandkids about record players and the little needles that play the audio and all that stuff. And it's just going to be a whole history lesson right there. And of course, then we'll be talking about the crazy year 2021. Anyway, I'm still going to pursue this idea, even though it's very slow. Okay. Also, everybody's asking me over the weekend. So I have to comment on this just to kind of shut it down. But everybody was asking me, what about Alex Jones' wife being arrested and for domestic violence and so on? And so look, my take on this stuff is I don't get into people's personal family life stuff. Okay. So whatever happened there, I mean, of course, the left-wing media was reporting it all over the place. And just the basic facts of what the media reported was that she was arrested for domestic violence. Okay, so that's all I know. I don't have any super secret private information, just to be clear. Nor would I share it if I did. That's Alex's private family business and life, and I think that's off limits. But with that said, I think it's pretty amazing that his wife can whoop some ass, don't you? I mean, that's actually a good attribute to have, considering what we're going into. I mean, it's good to have husbands and wives. I'm not saying I'm not in favor of domestic violence, obviously, but I'm saying if it comes down to it, isn't it great when a woman has some like martial arts skills or self-defense? I don't know what this was. I don't know if her medication had an issue, and then I don't know what happened, but I'm just saying, generally speaking, I think it's great when women can whoop some ass. And it reminds me of my jujitsu classes that I'm taking, and these really, really capable, strong women in these classes you don't want to mess with. I'm wondering if maybe Alex's wife has been taking jujitsu in my class and I didn't even know it, because some of these women, man, they lock your neck with their knees, and they have these, dare I say, it's not politically correct, I'm just going to say, they have big, strong hips, okay? They've got some strong hips, all muscle. There's not an ounce of fat. It's like, it's like your neck is in a vice and it's just crushing it. And, you're tapping out. No, please, I need my neck. And as I've said before, you don't want to, you can't do it back to them in the class, because it's a woman, it's not like it's, what's her name? Leah, the swimmer, the Penn State swimmer, who's a man who pretends to be a woman. No, I could definitely choke out like a transgender biological man pretending to be a woman if we're in a jujitsu context, training. I wouldn't mind choking him out, but I'm not choking out a woman. You see what I'm saying? But these women, man, they get you and just, and you can't move. And these women don't mess around either, because the kind of jujitsu that I train in is with full striking. It's not like competition. Let's win a trophy. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But, competition jujitsu, not to get carried away here, but they wear gis, they wear the white, martial arts looking clothing, and they have rules. Okay, they have rules like no eye gouging, no ball cracking, no hair pulling, no face raking with fingernails. There are some rules in jiu-jitsu, and just no elbows, because elbows is what we train in. I mean, half the strikes we're doing are elbows. Well, elbows and knees, I guess, would be it. It's like you get in close, and then you're in a half of a wrestling maneuver. You get like underhooks, which is a wrestling term for the position of your arms, and then you push them away a little bit, and wham, your elbow comes across their face. That's the kind of training that we do. Because as I told the instructor from day one, I'm like, I'm not here to win trophies. I'm like, what are you here to do? Well, what's the right way to say this? Somebody's trying to hurt me. I'm here to break them. Okay, that's it. I'm break them and then get away or whatever. It's like someone jumps me and I need to just break them fast and go. And okay, we're going to work on elbows. And so anyway, just to summarize this, these women that are training separately often, I'm just real proud of them. I'm real proud of them, because they're women who, if there's some mad crazed rapist that ever tries to rape one of these women, they're going to be in for a big surprise. They're going to be broken. They're going to be lucky to be left alive, because some of these women, once they choke out the rapist, let's say, they're just going to hold the choke, cut off the carotid artery, and not just for the usual 5 to 10 seconds to make somebody lose consciousness, but if you hold it longer, they lose consciousness longer. Some of these women probably just hold it for a couple of minutes. Just, what happened? He never came back. Well, too bad for the rapist. I just bet you that the jiu-jitsu instructor couples, if the husband and wife both are jiu-jitsu black belts, I bet you they don't have a domestic violence problem, because they know that if fighting ever starts, everybody gonna get hurt. it's like, honey, let's just not choke each other out tonight, because we do that every day in class. Let's talk this one through. How about that, right? You'll find that the more training people have had in violence, the more peaceful they are in the real world. It's true. It's true. I've hung out with the most ultra violent, Navy SEAL government trained killing machines. They're the nicest people imaginable. Why? They don't need to prove anything to some nitwit in a bar or wherever. They don't need to prove anything to anybody. They're already a Navy SEAL. It's kind of like that's the biggest manly man that you can be in, at least in the context of shooting and physical effort and surviving and things like that. So the really peaceful, friendly, calm people in the real world, the violent people in the world around you are the people who are actually very afraid, and they're afraid because they don't have much training. They're afraid because they don't have confidence in their skills. Like, I would rather hang out with a bunch of people who are absolutely highly trained martial artists, marksmen, combat specialists, all that stuff, because I know that they're going to be the nicest people ever. They got nothing to prove about being macho. And this is something to keep in mind in a preparedness context or a collapse context when things get crazy in society, as I think is going to happen in 2022. The desperate people that try to steal from you, typically those are the people who are not well trained. Remember this. Because the people who are well trained are usually going to be people who have some level of discipline. They're typically going to be pro rule of law people, pro law and order. Not in every case, but in most cases. I mean, occasionally, there's a former soldier who goes off on a whim and does his own thing and isn't pro rule of law. But for the most part, anybody that's going to come for you and try to lash out with violence or desperation is someone who is not that well trained. And the great point about this is that it doesn't take much training to be very, very effective in self-defense techniques, whether we're talking pistols, rifles, or jiu-jitsu, or Krav Maga, or Taekwondo, or just some kind of training. How do you defend yourself? How do you stop someone from beating you? How do you stop a takedown? And how do you shoot them, if necessary, in self-defense? So just consider that in a collapse scenario, you are going to be much better trained and more disciplined than most of the lunatics coming after you. They're not going to be very effective. The typical untrained person thinks, oh my God, they're coming at me with a gun. Oh my God, it's a gun. I'm so scared. What am I going to do? Like, is it just a gun? Is that it? Because that's not necessarily that big of a threat unless they know how to use it, and most people don't. Most people can't hit a target standing still, much less one that's dodging and ducking and weaving and moving and seeking cover, and when the target is shooting back, turning it into a two-way range. Hey, whoa, see if you can dodge bullets, like the Matrix, which we're going to talk about later. I've trained people on pistols who can stand there 10 feet from a target, take all the time in the world, no rush, no pressure, no nervousness, nothing. Pull out the pistol slowly, get the sight picture, squeeze the trigger, and still miss. And actually, I think probably we all started there. So I'm not knocking anybody who's a beginner, but most people can't hit anything. The bullets just go in random directions. This is why they hit like random people instead of the intended target. Cops do that too a lot. They're just firing off rounds in a nervous, like, blamity blam, blam. And everybody gets hit except the perp, All right, we're going to go on to a financial video here. This video broke over the weekend, and it's relevant to the bank closures that I was talking about last week. Remember how there were 488 banking locations that were closed before Christmas? Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, Bank of America. Yeah, almost 500 locations closed. Well, over the weekend, this video from TikTok came out, and it shows a Chicago city employee trying to cash a City of Chicago payroll check at the same bank that the City of Chicago uses for its bank for payroll. And the bank says, we can't cash the check because that account has no money in it. Check out this video for yourself. Here we go.
You deposit it on your end, by tomorrow they should have the funds in there. I don't know. But as of right now, they do not.
So you cancel my endorsement.
No, cancel our endorsement.
Okay.
It's saying that we cashed it. So anywhere you go with it, they're going to be like, no, you've already cashed it.
So you're saying the city of Chicago has no funds in its account?
At this time, in this account, no.
So I can't cash my paycheck?
Well, not here, because we have their account. We can actually see their account. If you go to another bank, they're not going to be able to see that. So if you go to your bank, they might be able to do it there, because they can't see that account, the City of Chicago account, like we can, because it's a Chase account. But we don't know how they work.
So what do you think about that, folks? The city of Chicago has no money in its payroll at Chase. Now maybe this is just some kind of accounting slip up, and they're gonna thrust some money into that account later today or something. On the other hand, why are they issuing checks when they don't have the funds in the account? Now, from what I know, that's a crime, actually. It's called writing a hot check. And if you write a hot check, let's say to your local grocery store, and they accept your check, and then it bounces, they can, in fact, prosecute you for that. It is a crime. You can be prosecuted for writing a hot check. So the city of Chicago is carrying out financial crimes now that are depriving its own workers of paychecks. Now, this brings up a very important, a bigger picture in all of this. How deep is the loyalty between government workers and the governments they work for? How deep does that loyalty go? It's kind of like that old Bee Gees song, How Deep Is Your Love? Remember that? How deep is your love? Is your love? How deep is your love? But you got to sing it with that falsetto Bee Gees voice, which I can't really do. All right, you convinced me to try it. Just for you, post-Christmas, here we go. Bee Gees, Staying Alive. Hear that? Disco. Talk about vinyl LPs. We're bringing it back, baby. This is Staying Alive. Here we go. Ready? Where you get to by the way I use my fuck, I'm a woman's man. No time to talk. All right, that's it. That's all I'm gonna do for you. Because my head might pop off there. That's falsetto singing for you. All right, but getting back to the main point, yes, I get easily distracted. How deep is the love of the workers in the government departments they're working for? And the answer is, it's only one paycheck deep, it turns out. It's only one paycheck. And love's not that deep. The people are loyal to the paycheck. Now, normally government can provide a lot of easy paychecks because, of course, the government's printing money, but that's not true at the city level. So in other words, the city of Chicago, thank God, doesn't have its own Federal Reserve printing press. Can you imagine how corrupt Chicago would be beyond what it is currently if they could print money? Just Chicago bucks. Oh, there's another billion today. It would be like Tether, the stable coin, just printing money like mad. Or imagine if the state of California could print their own money, how insane that would be. It'd be like Venezuela hyperinflation all the time. Now, we have national money printing, but it's getting kind of crazy, but it's not as crazy as it would be if every city could print their money. So the cities actually have to come up with this money, and the cities in these blue states, the blue cities anyway, are broke. So Chicago is broke. They're in debt beyond all reason. The state of California is essentially broke as well, with what they owe everybody, the entitlements, and all the bondholders and everything. They're broke. They're broke beyond broke. So one thing we got to keep in mind is what happens when the dollar reset takes place is all these government employees are gonna lose their minds because they're going to lose their paychecks and their pensions and their benefits. And about 40% of the American workers work for government, right? The county level, city, state, nationally. Many people listening to this work for government. And when those governments go broke, they're not going to be able to meet their obligations. And that's all part of the Great Reset that's coming, by the way. So when I see videos like this out of Chicago, it's like, oh, the city of Chicago has no money in its bank account to meet payroll. That's just a sign, data point. Now, we can't prove that video happened in the last couple of days. Maybe it's a video from a year ago. Maybe the problem was already solved. And I've got a couple of stories on this today, too, if we ever get to them. If I could stop singing Bee Gees. But we're talking about a die-off in the blue cities, and the die-off will cause a loss in, of course, property taxes, sales taxes. What else? Payroll taxes. Whatever else. I mean, depends on what the cities and states charge, income tax, whatever. And that may be one reason why they're pushing this. They don't have to pay the pensions and the retirement benefits anymore. But it's not just the retired people who are dying from this, you see. It's a lot of younger people, working age people, professionals, and so on. As they are dying, these cities are going to turn into ghost towns. And so really, the song I just chose here, Staying Alive, is quite appropriate for what we're looking at in 2022. Maybe we should call 2022 the year of staying alive. I don't think the Bee Gees would give us permission to use that theme song, but we can recreate it ourselves. Yeah, that would be a disaster. And by the way, I don't know if you've seen the music video of the Bee Gees Staying Alive back from, I don't know what year that was, 1974 or something. But it would be very difficult to recreate that because you'd have to have the diameter of your hair to be larger than the diameter of your waist. And then they sang in falsetto using words that nobody could understand. It sounds like they're from the current time, actually, doesn't it? Like listening to them sing is kind of like listening to Fauci speak. You never know what he means. All right, now let's move on to the Matrix Resurrections movie that just came out. A lot of people talking about this movie. So there's something very important, actually, that was in this film towards the very end. Now, overall, the movie it's a merciless cacophony of just rehashing a bunch of Matrix ideas. There's nothing that phenomenal about this movie. But the ending of it really does say something powerful that's worth going over. And remember, too, by the way, that this movie was written and produced by the Wachowski brothers, or at least they had the primary role, not just them. And the Wachowski brothers, remember, they became transgenders after the 1999 original Matrix. I don't know what year they decided they were women. And now I think one of them is Lana Wachowski. That's who's credited in the movie. So they decided to become women. They did not join the Penn State swimming team. Instead, they continued to make Matrix movies. And they wanted to, put some kind of message in the movie about LGBT. And I'm here to say they didn't really put that much LGBT stuff in the film at all. It's hardly noticeable. At some point here, the Neil Patrick Harris character says, "Oh, why don't you paint the sky with rainbows?" That's really about the extent of it. And one of the primary women in the movie has like blue hair. It really wasn't full of a bunch of LGBT stuff. So I would not avoid the film for that reason. It's not a super woke film. But what I want to play for you here is something that rings very, very true, that the Neil Patrick Harris character is saying. He's kind of what would you call him? He's like the architect, kind of his character in that Matrix. He plays a psychologist who's trying to convince Neo that all his memories were just a video game that he wrote. And yet this character, the Neil Patrick Harris character, actually controls this entire Matrix, this rendition of it, and he's trying to keep Neo and Trinity trapped in the Matrix, trying to keep them blue-pilled. So there's a very powerful element of truth here that the Wachowski brothers did nail, to their credit. Whether they're men or women, I guess, is irrelevant to this point. They nailed the fact that most people crave the comfort of their own enslavement. So listen to this. I don't know, it's a minute or a little bit more. This is a very powerful piece at the end, towards the end of the movie. Check this out.
So why haven't the suits purged you?
Because I know this system. I know human beings. And I know you. Right now, you're feeling good about what you've done. You should. It was a victory. Bravo. Now what? You've come here to negotiate some kind of deal? You think you hold all the cards because you can do whatever you want in this world. I say, go for it. Remake it. Knock yourselves out. Paint the sky with rainbows. But here's the thing. The sheeple aren't going anywhere. They like my world. They don't want this sentimentality. They don't want freedom or empowerment. They want to be controlled. They crave the comfort of certainty. And that means you two, back in your pods, unconscious and alone, just like them.
So from there, and a little spoiler alert here, but it probably doesn't matter. It turns out that both Trinity and Neo are, quote, the one, that they both have godlike powers when they are together. So at least we have the theme in this film of a man and a woman coming together to create something sort of divine, let's say. I mean, I'm glad the Wachowski brother or sisters at this point did not turn Neo into, you know, a girl, and then have Trinity, and instead of Neo, like Neo-Net or whatever, have something like a lesbian relationship where they gain godlike powers and they can fly around the skies, painting the skies with rainbows because they're super powerful lesbians. They did not do that. So they didn't go like full woke on this thing. At least it's a man and a woman coming together to have this incredible power of reshaping the world. And that is a very powerful message for our time, which is why the overall themes of the Matrix movies, such as being red-pilled, these themes have been adopted by the political right, because it is now the political left, the liberals, and the LGBT movement that have become the enforcers of monoculture in the culture, shall we say. They've become the enforcers of the thought police, the speech police. You must conform, you must obey. And if you don't, you will be deplatformed and you will be ostracized from society. And you must clap when the biological male swimmer, 6'3", beats all the women by 40 seconds in the college championships. You have to applaud because you have to agree that that's a woman. Even though the dude's so tall, he's got such giant feet, he's basically like a human dolphin with giant flippers. He's like size 13 shoes, just flipping along, doesn't even need flippers. But you're supposed to, of course, conform to the radical left, but it's only through the awakening that we can shatter that false paradigm of liberalism. So the conundrum that the Wachowski brothers have run into with their movies is that they themselves have become part of the woke obedience enforcers, while their movies teach a theme of being awakened instead of, quote, woke, and awakened to the reality to see outside the matrix, outside the bubble, the pods, as the character just said in that clip. Say, oh, you have to go back into your pods and you have to be isolated from each other and isolated from the people. Go back into your pods. We want to shatter the bubble, shatter the pods. We're not going to lock down. We're not going to wear your stupid masks. We're not going to take your death shots. We are going to be free. We are going to be red-pilled. We're going to look at reality as it is and get outside the thought bubbles of the controlled conversations on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. It's all controlled by the radical left. If you say anything they don't like, obviously you get booted or suspended. And we're going to break out of that matrix. We already have, actually. We are living far outside the matrix, which is why the controllers of the matrix fear us. And that's why they try to shut us down inside the matrix. But you see, they can only shut our voices down in their bubbles, which is Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and Google and so on. We step outside their bubbles, which is we can go to Brighteon, we can go to BitChute, you can go to alternative sites, Brighteon.social, you can use a different search engine. What was that other one? Yandex, I think was the search engine, or DuckDuckGo or what have you. All these different search engines, you can search outside the bubble. And that's what the radical left hates. They hate people being free. Now, so what the Neil Patrick Harris character was saying, though, is true. Most people enjoy the comfort of their servitude. They enjoy being enslaved. They enjoy being told what to do. And that is always going to be the majority. And we cannot break them free from that servitude, because going back to the first Matrix movie, anytime we try to break them free, all we do is shatter their psyche. They can't handle it because, well, they're so deeply embedded into that false reality, the blue pill reality that they've experienced for their entire lives. Oh, even if those lives are completely artificial, which they are. And by the way, just as in the Matrix, people are taught a false history. You know, they're taught that we're living in the year, what was it, 1997 or something in that simulation, even though it had been hundreds of years and the skies had been destroyed and the planet had been destroyed and so on. And the machines have used humans as a source of energy, the copper tops. But in the Matrix, you believe in this false reality that everything's fine. Well, that Matrix, or I should say that Matrix-like simulation is quite real. I mean, this is what people are subjected to today, is completely false realities, a false history. They're taught false histories of what happened in the past, where we came from. False flag events are not described correctly. Here, I know someone like that. This person loves to have surgery. Like surgery to fix every little thing. Things like problems with their knuckles, problems with their toes, problems, anything. It's like, gotta have surgery going in. Oh, and what did you do in that surgery? Oh, they cut this bone, they shaved the bone off, and then they moved that over so the toes are straight or whatever. And, you know, I'm not trying to mock everybody who's got a real serious problem with their feet. There are serious issues that may require real medical intervention, but I'm talking about people who kind of look forward to it. Like they love to have a problem so that a doctor has to fix it, and they have to have surgery, and then they have to go through the hospital and be in the bed and let the nurses take care of them and check their pulse. And there's some weird twisted thing in some people where they like to be like medical victims. They do. Some people love this because there's all these other people taking care of them. I love it. And just every month, another shot. Oh my God. And they are obviously they're lunatics, total psychopaths, right? But people prefer that. Some people, just like the character there in the Matrix said, they prefer their servitude because it's comfortable. And you try to expose them to the truth, and those people will die, by the way. They will die. Which reminds me, I'm going to get to my list here of the top 10 types of people who will die beginning in 2022. Actually, some of them are dying already, but it's really going to accelerate in 2022. But before I get there, a quick announcement. Remember the other day when I was talking about the hurricane in the Philippines, and I said, you know, I wish I could figure out who to donate to to help with the situation. Hundreds of thousands of people without homes. Their homes are destroyed. People need food. They need basic shelter items. They need water filters, all kinds of things. Well, we found a group and we made a sizable donation. Brighteon is donating $25,000 to a nonprofit called Convoy of Hope. So we gave them $25,000, or I should say, we're in the process of giving them $25,000. We have to wait for accountants to come back to work and actually write that check. But we are committed to $25,000. We've given the orders internally in our own company. So Brighteon donated $25,000 to Convoy of Hope. And I love what they do. I mean, they distribute food, emergency food, and then water filters, first aid, tents, like basic supplies that people need to live in the aftermath of a disaster of some kind. And according to their online explanations, 92% of the donations go directly to the people and with this particular group. And I think the other 8% goes to either fundraising or administrative costs. And that's the exact opposite of probably the Clinton Foundation, which is maybe 8% goes to the people, 92% goes to the Clintons. You know what I mean? I'm just estimating. Those might not be exact numbers, but a lot of the globalist charities are just set up to milk money from people, you know? That's why I don't trust the American Red Cross or the Salvation Army that preaches white guilt. It's like, how dare you give us money? Denounce your white guilt first and then donate. And you're like, nah, I don't think so. We'll go somewhere else. So we went to convoyofhope.org. That's who we are supporting. And then in terms of sponsorship today, of course, we have the satellite phone store, SAT123. Speaking of emergencies, you can use the satellite phones in any emergency. As long as you can point that phone at the sky, you can make and receive calls. You can also send and receive text messages to other satellite phones. And you can call cell phones and landlines, and you can receive calls from all those other phones as well. So SAT123.com, definitely worth getting a satellite phone if you don't yet have one. And the monthly minutes roll over if you don't use them. So you can save them up for the next big emergency, which probably won't be that far away. Oh, the Convoy of Hope, here we go. They say they're distributing food, water, winter clothes, hygiene kits, cleanup supplies, generators, and other emergency relief supplies. Partners in the community are helping with distribution. Donors across the U.S. have contributed to the response. So it's interesting what they actually distribute. You know, food, water, cleanup supplies, generators. I guess they can't distribute those in California anymore because gasoline generators are banned, which should be interesting the next time California has a disaster, you know, like an earthquake. It's like, well, I can't have generators. It's against the law. Got to protect the environment. Guess you just have to suffer. California. Come out to the coast. We'll have a few laughs. Yeah. That is the line from Die Hard, which is, of course, the best Christmas movie ever. And I have failed to watch it this year because I wasted my time watching The Matrix, which is not as good as Die Hard. Okay, we're going to get to the top 10 list here of the groups of people who are going to die. But first, let me mention one person who just did die. And we are very saddened to learn that a New York Times editor has died of a heart attack, they think. We are enlightened, they think. No. You just got violated by Satan, is what happened. Lucifer. So what you thought was enlightenment was actually Luciferian. That's the wrong light. Lucifer, luciferase, the enzyme. The Latin prefix lumen, or what is it? Luminaries, lucent. There's another light company. Lucifer. That's. They saw a light at the end of the tunnel. They thought it was their savior, and it was actually Lucifer. Okay, so they're dead. They're dead, gone. There's going to be a lot more people following in those footsteps because they believe the false god of science and Satanism. I'm not saying that he's a Satanist, but what he did, he may not know that it was all sponsored by Satan. It was all put in place by Satan. So anyway, I'm sad to lose another human being, but this is only the beginning. All right, I got something for you here that you're not going to believe. This is really, this is intriguing. This is bizarre. Watch 20 or 30 seconds of this video I'm going to play for you here and see if you notice something unusual about this, okay? Just pay attention. See if you notice anything strange or familiar. Okay, here we go.
Thanks for all your support and Merry Christmas to you. As I just said, there's a lot of bus shifting gears here. Some things going down. Evergrande is refusing to pay its employees now. And so the buzz out of China is that Evergreen employees in provinces, such as Guangxi, are going to go on strike. I guess that's today, and because they're not being paid, not even wages. So the company Evergrande is going into a total default collapse.
Did you notice anything strange about that video or familiar? Okay, so at first glance, there's a guy in the corner who apparently is Nick Fleming, and he's talking about some current events, some major intel update. Now, if you are a regular listener to this podcast, you may have noticed that his words sound very familiar. And that's because they are the exact words of my podcast from Christmas Day. Exactly, word for word. And then you begin to notice that, hey, this guy's mouth isn't matching the verbal speech, right? Something's off. Who is this guy? Why is he speaking differently? Well, the guy is a computer-generated character, and the voice is a computer-generated voice. It's not a real person. And what they've done here, and I'm really intrigued by this, by the way. What they've done is they've taken my podcast and they have transcoded it into text. You know, they transcribed it into text. And then they took the text and they fed it into a text-to-speech engine, a very good one, I might add, because the voice sounds, quite compelling. And then they recorded that audio and mixed it with the video of so-called Nick Fleming, the computer-generated character, and they put some footage in the background, and they posted that. So it's my podcast kind of reenacted with a computer voice and a computer-generated character named Nick Fleming. And as of the moment, I'm looking at this. This is from a channel called Bro News, and it's got 98,000 views. Now, personally, I think this is awesome. I think that Bro News, whoever they are, they're doing like a really interesting thing here. And this is what it means, by the way, to be an influencer. I'm someone that people call an influencer, is that when I put out a podcast, other people will take those ideas, or in this case, word for word, and they'll turn it into their own video and post their own video using my words. And some people might get really angry about this. Oh, they're ripping you off, man. They're stealing your stuff. Personally, I think this is awesome. I think this is great. So whoever's at Bro News, I just want to tell you, you got 2 thumbs up from me, because my voice is banned on YouTube, but Nick Fleming is not banned, you see, not yet. Whoever, like the computer-generated Nick Fleming. And then if this guy gets banned, this computer voice, obviously they can come up with another computer voice. So this is actually a way to get this out. This is like a V for Vendetta, put on the mask of an AI computer layer, and then you can speak on platforms where you have otherwise been banned. And I suppose if I had enough time on my team, we would have done this ourselves. But whoever's Bro News, they did it first. But I think it's pretty interesting. And in fact, what I'd like to say to everyone listening here, you could copy this model. You can literally feed my voice into any kind of a voice to text engine, a transcription engine, and there are a bunch of them that are readily available. And I have a style of pronunciation that is very clear. So the engines work very well on my words, except when I'm singing Bee Gees and doing other weird impressions and things. But when I'm serious, the words are easy to transcribe. And then you can take that text and you can feed it into an avatar, like a computer generated avatar. And I would vastly prefer that you give that avatar like blue hair and giant nose rings. Just make the craziest avatar that you could possibly come up with. Like a I don't know, a giant mystical golden bull or something with like rainbow ears, or just come up with the craziest thing that you can think of. And then post that on YouTube. Well, I guess that might not be believable. I guess the magic of Nick Fleming is he kind of looks like a real guy. So maybe you want to keep it real, whatever. It's up to you. And you can go ahead and post YouTube videos based on what I'm doing here, should you so desire. I think it's great. Go for it. I love it. By the way, a couple years ago, there was another guy, and I'm not going to mention his name, it doesn't matter, but he had a lot of popular videos on YouTube, and he would take my articles and he would read my articles on camera and put B-roll footage with them and dramatic music. And that was it. It was like Health Ranger articles performed by this guy, but he never mentioned that they were articles from the Health Ranger. Not once. I'm laughing about it because, again, a lot of people say, no way, man, he just totally ripped you off. He didn't even give you credit. Nothing. It's like, yeah, whatever. Look, the world is full of lots of people. Some people can create ideas. Other people can just replicate ideas. Everybody's got to have a job. Everybody needs a role. I create ideas. Other people that want to replicate them, and they want to perform them. That's great. They're like re-performing my articles. It's like it's a theatrical production. Why would I not be honored? Although it would be nice if they gave me credit every once in a while, but whatever. Being an influencer like this is kind of the territory that it comes with. You're not always going to get credit for your work, but just know that you're having a huge impact. Now, by the way, there's a lot of back and forth of borrowing of ideas, of concepts, where I hear something from another author, and then it influences me, and then it might become part of my own theory, because we learn from others, right? So that's normal. People learn from me, or I learn from them. I can't tell you how many times I hear a guest, let's say on the Alex Jones show, and that guest is using the exact same words that I use in my article 2 days earlier, for example. Same concepts, but they're putting it in their own words, which just means that I influenced them, but they still have formed, their own ideas and their own way of communicating that. And that's not plagiarism, folks. That's just learning and sharing information. Plagiarism is just using word for word, which is what the New York Times does. They just plagiarize, or certain writers at the New York Times, I should say. They plagiarize a lot. All right, welcome to this part of the podcast covering the 10 types of people who will be destroyed or dead starting in 2022. I just want to be clear as a disclaimer. I don't celebrate death of anyone or wish death upon anyone. In fact, I've dedicated most of my adult life to teaching people how to not die. So, they've woven a giant web. A lot of people have been caught up in it, like in Shelob's web from Lord of the Rings, just caught in the web. So here we go. The 10 types of people who won't make it. Number one, people who love to have the mark of the beast implants, the digital implants. You know, a lot of these younger people in particular, they just can't wait to be all Borgified. And then it has to go through the cloud and come back to their toilet, which is like a Bluetooth toilet talking to their home server. These people are literally crapping in the cloud. You know, they don't like to have a lever that doesn't need all this technology to function. These are the people who are locked out of their homes. Like, even you look at their pantry, there's nothing in here. And they're like, isn't it so clean? Yeah, but there's nothing in here. You have no food, but it's so clean. You know? And well, shouldn't you have maybe a bag of rice, you know, to fall back on? Just one bag? Oh, that would cause clutter. Okay. All right, I see where you're coming from. It's just the scale at which I tend to do prepping. But I'm a community prepper. I know I'm going to share things with the community. So I tend to over purchase things thinking I'm going to be donating to churches and donating to local people, you know, in the middle of chaos and whatever. That's just the way I run things. Not everybody's got to do it that way, but to do any kind of prepping, you're going to have some stuff. You're going to have some ammo. Probably, you know, you're going to have a couple flashlights. You're going to have a stack of batteries. You're going to have some food pails and buckets. It's all important. You're thinking, hey, I got, you know, I'm getting some good information. But if you don't translate it into action, it doesn't matter. So there's a category of people I call the cognitive preppers, which is that they're really good at prepping in their minds. They know all the stuff that they should have and all the skills that they should learn and they got all the plans of how to bug out and everything, but they don't actually have any of that stuff. And prepping is not a mental exercise. It is a physical exercise. It's a skills exercise. I mean, granted, part of it's mental, the skills part, the knowledge part, and so on, but a lot of it is physical. It's about physically having the food, the medicine, the water filters, the firearms, the self-defense, the night vision goggles, whatever you're into. Your super secret helicopter drone perimeter defense system. No need to panic. The banks will reopen in 3 days, you know. And people go, oh, we were told everything's just fine. All we have to do is stay calm, and we just have to sit here and do what we're told, and we're all going to be fine. Okay, good luck. They won't be around very long. I'm not even going to go into how they're going to die, but because I don't want to get into those details. That, you know, the gangs are going to take them out. You know that, right? The violent gangs. Okay. Number 5, people who still live in the cities and have no self-defense skills, which is almost everybody that lives in the city. Most people have never studied any self-defense, which is fine if you're not in the middle of a giant death zone. But the cities are death zones. In any kind of collapse, the cities are the death zones. When the power goes out, when the banking system goes down, the food stamps stop working, law enforcement, telecom stops working, the cities are just total chaos, anarchy, violence, mayhem. It's like The Purge on steroids every day. And if in that environment you don't know how to run a Glock, clear a jam, shoulder a rifle, use an elbow, you don't know how to observe people but not be seen yourself, you're not going to fare very well in that environment. Cities are high-density death traps. And, we're going to see the collapse of cities coming up. All right, number 6, people who keep all their assets in dollars and electronic deposits, but don't own anything that's real. You know, a lot of these people live a very sparse lifestyle. For whatever reason, a lot of these people are currently living in Puerto Rico, because in Puerto Rico, there's like a tax-free situation there. All the money you make, you pay no taxes on it as long as you spend a certain amount of time in Puerto Rico. So people are doing that, and they're saving a ton of money, but they're living a very sparse life there, don't have much in the way of supplies or firearms or, emergency backup gear, things like that. And but a lot of them tend to have a lot of electronic assets. They're big into Bitcoin, they're big into stocks, they're big into trading, they're like day traders and options traders and commodities traders and so on. Okay, great. Great. Until the global reset takes place and all that stuff goes to zero because it's all electronic. It's not real. None of it's real. So what the smart people are doing, people who've done well in Bitcoin or well in, trading or stocks or whatever, selling half of their stuff and then buying farms and land and a home or a cabin or something that's real. And they're loading up on sometimes silver or gold, ammo, and they might still keep half of their assets in the digital form just in case there's more upside yet to be achieved. But they're selling out half and translating it into gear. Those are the smart folks. But for me personally, I don't own any stocks or bonds or options or crypto at all, period. Zero. So my exposure in a collapse is zero. I've converted everything into something physical. 100%. That's why I have 3 sewing machines, you see. and a couple of tractors, the old John Deere tractors that have no electronics in them, things like that, and quite a few firearms and so on and so forth, all physical. That's amazing. That's taxpayer money put to good use once again in military research. You've developed something that works almost as good as doing nothing. That's impressive. Maybe if we gave you more money, you could develop something that works even worse than doing nothing. Yeah, because that's what the military does with money. Well, gosh, I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, but it's people who live connected to the cloud and don't have any off-grid skills. So these people, they can't drive around a city without using Google Maps or something. Completely, their whole lives are tied into Google. For whatever reason, all the email is Gmail. All the maps are Google Maps. Everything is Google this, Google that. It's like they can't function. It's like they're already half cyborg because Google is an extension of who they are. It's like, hey, bro, read a paper map. Read the road signs, navigate, know your compass directions. Just go old school Boy Scouts here for a minute. Where does the sun come up? Oh, it comes up in the east. Every day? Yes, every day. Comes up in the east every single day. Wow, they don't even know that. Their whole lives are connected to the cloud. They don't know what to do without the cloud. People have refrigerators that are tied into the cloud. You know that? People have refrigerators that tell them when to reorder stuff. That, to me, that's just so pathetic. Like you have such a lack of faith in your own intelligence that you doubt your ability to open the door and look in there. Why would you be crazy enough to do that? Why would anybody do that? Why do people buy the Ring doorbells? It's really like Lord of the Rings, one ring to bind them all, right? And keep them in darkness or whatever that saying was. People buy video cameras so that Amazon can watch them getting dressed and recommend wardrobe suggestions. Did you know that? People put video cameras in their bedrooms that are connected to Amazon. Did you know that? I'm not even making that up. People do that. It's an Amazon thing. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was a joke, but no, they actually have that. It's like, let's just get undressed in front of the whole Amazon crew. Say hi, wave to all the programmers, all the creepy nerds who are watching this, and then let the AI system make some wardrobe recommendations. It's like, what? You can't choose your own clothes? Are you so stupid? You can't choose what to wear. You know, we had a name for kids like that when I was growing up. It's a name that's not allowed to be used anymore. It's a descriptor, actually. I'll just say it here once for historical purposes. I would never say this in our modern times, but that word is called retarded. If you don't know what to wear, you're retarded. That's the way it used to be. Now you're just waiting for the cloud to update or something. No. What's wrong with you people? And then for whatever reason, these same people, they don't have any off-grid skills. They don't know how to do anything in the real world, like, change a tire. Change a tire. They don't know how to sharpen a pencil. What's a pencil? People were shocked the other day, even when remember when I said that everybody should buy a foot-powered bicycle pump because you can pump up your car tires with it, I literally had some people say, that can't be. How can you pump up your car tires? I'm like, you press it with your foot, man. You just pump air into your car tires. You attach the nozzle to the valve stem. It's like, what? You need instructions for this? Attach the nozzle to the valve stem and you press it with your foot and the tire goes bigger and bigger. They're like, but the car's too heavy. I'm like, oh my God, you don't understand air. I'm so sorry. Okay, let's back up. Tell me, go read the PSI on your car tire for me, please. That the PSI, that's pounds per square inch of tire pressure. Go find that number. Tell me what that number is, please. And then they go find the number, come back. It's 36. 36. Okay. Now go look online. You can use Google if you want, because you're a Google cloud nut job. Go look, what is the inflation pressure of, let's say, like a 10-speed bicycle or a 20-speed, whatever they are these days, with the narrow tires, the 26-inch wheels. What's the tire pressure on that? And they look it up. Oh, it's like 60. Okay. Can you pump up a bicycle tire with a bicycle tire pump? They go, I guess so. That's right. Okay. And that's 60 PSI, right? Right. Okay. Could you pump up a tire that was only 36 PSI with that? And they're like, you can see the math is going in their head. That's 60 minus 36. Second derivative, quantitative easing. And it's spit out. I don't know. Yeah, try it, you fool. Just take a bicycle pump. Pump up your car tire do it once in your life, for God's sake. Are you a retard? Just do it once. It's like, And when you master that, I'll teach you how to sharpen a pencil, okay? We're starting at kindergarten with you, because you've been living in the cloud. And they just sit in the basement, there's no light, and their skin turns pale. And I'm a super coder. Yeah. And then you're like, can you help feed the chickens? And they're like, no. So you know everything about code. You can't feed chickens. Well, what good are you then, exactly? Now, see, the reason you and I find this funny is because we all grew up in a world where we had to do things in the real world. This is all before the cloud, right? We grew up before the internet. Thank God, because we don't want our childhood adventures plastered all over Facebook forever. I feel sorry for these kids today. They're getting a cell phone when they're like 7. Their whole life is now permanently recorded and going to be used against them. And they have no clue. At least our lives are long forgotten, at least our childhood lives, right? Thank goodness for that. But we learn real things, like I had a real tree swing. I had a real tree house. We had a sandbox when I was really young. We played in the sandbox, You make things with sand. And then you put little army men in tanks and you have little army battles in the sand. And then, the garden hose comes along. Oh my God, the dam has burst. There's a giant flood. The battlefield's wiped out, right? So as a kid, you use your mind. You imagine things. You're creating scenarios. Now they're just like, boom, like Borgs watching the screen. oh, just feed me, feed me, feed me. There's no creativity in it. They're just images coming at them 24/7. It's like a giant mental vacuum, and it's taking control of their mind instead of spurring their mind to do something. That's why it's actually more intelligent when you listen to old time radio where they were acting out the old radio characters and radio shows, versus today's movies. And this is what people used to listen to when people were smart. You could listen to audio and then you could imagine everything in your mind. You paint the pictures. That's an active process. Instead of now, today, everything's just a passive process. You're just a drooling consumer, blah, and then all the information's coming in, blah, but you have your Google phone. Yeah, but nobody can see through it because they're just zombies. Blah. That's the problem. So everybody's just passive now. Which is why I enjoy doing this audio format more than doing videos, because I can be more creative here. And I think it's actually more creative for you to listen to this than to watch a video, frankly. But when the power grid goes down and stays down for some period of time, all these people living in their virtual worlds, they're going to come out of their apartments for the first time ever, stumbling around, eyes squinting because the sun is so bright. Oh my God, what is this place? They'll think they've been teleported into some alternate universe. It's actually the only time they've been in reality. Their alternate universe has been shut down. And now they're forced into reality. They're just going, oh, it's cold. They won't even understand that you have to take care of your physical needs for shelter. In South Korea, there are kids that die from playing video games, right? They just play video games until they die, literally. They just don't drink water, don't eat food, don't go to the restroom. And eventually they become so dehydrated, they just pass out and die while playing like World of Warcraft or whatever they play over there. And so don't forget to live in the real world, folks. But then again, you and I grew up in the real world, so we don't have that problem. I don't celebrate their deaths. I would love for people to be preppers. I would love for more people to be informed, aware, prepared, to have the skills, to have the knowledge. I love teaching people about how to survive all of this, but it's only a small percentage of the population that's actually interested in that for the reasons that we've already discussed today. We're not shipping out any packages this week, but there are, not any new packages, but there are some packages that we're delivering to the Postal Service today because they did not fit on the mail trucks last Thursday. So there's some packages still in the queue that are going out, but we're not processing new orders this entire week because we give our staff the whole week off. So we'll be back online next week, and I've got a lot of announcements for you for 2022, the Staying Alive year. And I thank you for your support. God bless you all. God bless America. Have a great vacation week here. If you're off for vacation, getting ready for New Year's, just have a great week, okay? Use it wisely. Take care, everybody.